Just because I could tell good people from bad by the smell of their poop, everyone thought I liked eating it. Lucky for me, as I got older, the ability changed. Now I just had to smell someone's natural scent to know if they were good or bad. Everyone said the Emperor was a tyrant, so I figured he'd reek when I finally met him. But he was surprisingly gorgeous, and all I caught was the faintest hint of bitterness. Later, while playing hide and seek in the Imperial Garden, I stumbled upon the Emperor talking to this scheming girl. That woman reeked, absolutely disgusting. Once she left, I couldn't help telling the Emperor she was lying, and I even gave him my favorite sugar cake. The Emperor seemed to notice there was something different about me. He brought me back to his hall and we talked for a long time. When he mentioned the father he'd never met, I innocently offered to share my dad with him. He froze for a second, then called my father inside. "Minister Shen, I'm very pleased with the gift you brought today." "Thank you, Your Majesty. That night glow pearl was shipped all the way from the South Sea. Truly one of a kind." "I'm not talking about the pearl. I mean the apple of your eye." My father flinched and looked up at me. Just one glance, and then he quickly bowed his head again. He rushed out. "My daughter isn't like other people, Your Majesty. She has the mind of a child and acts without thinking. If she's offended you in any way, please punish me instead." The Emperor just kept smiling, rested his hand on my head and said, "You're being too modest, Minister. I think your daughter is remarkably sharp." He was the first person to ever call me smart. He had to be a good person. Once that bitterness faded, I was sure he'd smell amazing. I thought about that and couldn't help smiling at him. He looked down at me, gently ruffled my hair and said softly, "Lan Lan even said she'd share her dad with me." I nodded with a smile, but when I turned to look at my father, his face had gone completely white. He slammed his head to the ground again. "I deserve to die, Your Majesty. I failed as a father. Mom, please forgive her nonsense. Please punish me." "Dad, did I mess up again?" I ran over to him. His forehead was red from bowing. My eyes welled up and I quickly blew on it to ease the pain. Dad grabbed me and pulled me down to kneel beside him, then continued. "She's still so young, Your Majesty. It's all my fault. Please don't hold it against her." The Emperor walked over and helped me to my feet. "You're overthinking it, Minister. I find Lan Lan refreshingly charming. What she said actually touched my heart. No punishments. If anything, she deserves a reward." My father looked like he'd just heard the worst news of his life and collapsed to the floor. I felt like I'd messed up again. After we got home from the palace, Dad didn't sleep all night, and Mom held me while she cried. "Mom, I didn't tell the Emperor my secret." I started tearing up too, curled in her arms. The Emperor had literally said he'd reward us. Hearing that, Mom just squeezed me tighter. "We know, baby, it's our fault." I had no idea what they'd done wrong. Then the next morning, an imperial decree arrived. The Emperor was a man of his word. Servants carried in chests full of gold and jewels. The head eunuch finished reading the decree, then turned to me with a big smile. "Noble Consort Chun, 3 days from now is an auspicious day, perfect for entering the palace." I stared at him. "I'm not Noble Consort Chun. My name is Shen Lan." He kept smiling. "You are Noble Consort Chun. The Emperor gave you that title himself." He handed the decree to my father and left with his whole entourage. Mom, who'd been holding it together all night, finally burst into tears at the sight of that decree. "What even is a noble consort?" I whispered to my maid Dudu. Daudo's lip trembled. "It means you're marrying the Emperor," she sobbed. I thought about it. "Like, the way Dad and Mom are together?" Daudo blinked, thought for a second. "Pretty much." "Then why is everyone crying?" I tilted my head, looked at my parents, and wiped the tears off Mom's face. "Don't cry, Mom. I'm happy to be the Emperor's consort." Mom cried even harder. Over the next 3 days, a bunch of palace matrons came to our house. They were there to teach me palace etiquette, and it was incredibly complicated. I barely managed to pick up a fraction of it. The last matron stood in front of me for a long time, staring into my eyes, her face going red, then pale, then red again. "What's bedroom stuff?" I looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes. She bit her lip and finally managed. "Miss, just remember, when you're in bed, always do what the Emperor says." I nodded. "What about the rest of the time?" "Listen then, too. So bedroom stuff is nothing special." On the day I entered the palace, both my parents were in tears. So I cried too. The Emperor showed up and I was still sniffling. He walked over to me. After a moment, he asked, "That scared to be my consort?" I looked up at him with red eyes. He looked different today, dressed in a bright imperial yellow robe. "Your Majesty, I'm hungry. I've been running around since this morning and only had 2 little pastries." He clearly wasn't expecting that. He paused, then let out a soft laugh. He looked incredible when he smiled. His laugh sounded just as good. "Go get her something to eat." He glanced down at me with a smirk. "Make it sweet." The eunuch at the door rushed off and was back in no time with several plates of pastries. My eyes lit up. The Emperor sat down beside me, watched me wolf down several pieces, then asked, "You're not scared of me?" I shook my head mid-bite. He didn't smell bad at all. Underneath all that bitterness was a faint sweetness. It was actually nice, but everyone else seemed terrified of him. He smiled. I swallowed and said, "That's probably because they're bad people." As I said it, the bitterness from his scent hit my nose and I couldn't help frowning a little. Maybe the reason they all feared him was because of how bitter he was. "Your Majesty, you should eat too." I held the sweetest sugar cake up to his lips and grinned. "This one's the sweetest." He looked down at it, something flickering in those dark eyes, then slowly opened his mouth and took a small bite. Eunuch Li across the room looked like his eyes were about to pop out. I waited for the Emperor to swallow, then asked proudly, "Sweet?" "Sweet."